Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Right now I am in the car with my dad and we are on our way to the National Museum of Flight in East Lothian in Scotland. It's been a while since I've been here and the pandemic is probably the main reason why, but I have been here a few times before, and as this is the first time in a while I wanted to make this video. And at this museum there are a few different things to do, and there's also a gift shop and there's a cafe there as well for either lunch or a snack or a drink or something, and this place also has toilets, so that's definitely a good thing if we need to go at any point. We're almost there just now, and what I will be doing is I will be linking this museum's website in the description, as well as the phone number and the address as well. So if you live in Scotland and are interested in coming down to visit this place, then you will find the information in the description below. So I will pick up the camera again once we get there, which will be shortly actually. So we are now turning into the museum to park up, and one of the things that's worth bearing in mind is that during these times at least, you have to book online in advance. You can't just show up and then purchase the tickets when you do show up, like how you used to be able to. That's probably one of the changes that came about as a result of the pandemic, so it's no surprise there. But yeah, I think it's better off to plan in advance as well anyway. So we are now in and the tickets have been checked, and we have also been handed a map as well. So here's a bit of a closer look at the map. This place isn't very big, but that's probably a good thing because at least it will be easier to get around. So, and at the top right there is the Concorde experience, which is what I am most excited about. And in there there's toilets and pretty much everything we will need, and there's also a cafe just next to the Concorde experience as well, which is probably the best place to actually have it. And it's definitely a nice day for being out here. It's nice and sunny, so I think we picked the right day to come out. And over there is the Concorde experience, and there is an old British Airways aircraft right there, which we will go check out soon enough. But yeah, the Concorde experience is in that building over there, and we're parking just in front of it. And one of the things that I like about some of the aircraft here at this museum is you can walk inside them and have a look around. So the seats are still in there and the cockpit will still be in there, all the switches and stuff. So I think we may have to go show our tickets in there, because there's a sign on that part of the building saying start your visit here. So I think that's where we have to go show our tickets. There's a seating area out here as well with some bins, which will definitely come in handy if you want to just sit down, have a drink or have a bit of lunch. Definitely a nice place for a seating area, and it's definitely a nice touch. Yeah, I think we'll need to wear our face masks while going in here since it's an inside building. So I will pick up the camera again once we have been in there. Okay, so we were actually wrong. We do not show our tickets in there, and in there is actually the gift shop that I mentioned earlier on, which I may come back and possibly do a bit of filming in there. If I can't, then I may just take a few pictures. And the staff member who we were talking to is actually aware of what we wanted to do, but when we go back a bit later on, we may find out if I can or not. If I can't do some filming in there, then I'll just take a few pictures of some of the things they sell in there and add them into the video so you can get an idea of what they sell in there. But right now we are walking over to the British Airways aircraft just there, and have a look. The stairs are on the other side of the aircraft at the front just there. Don't know if you can see from underneath the belly of the aircraft just there, there's some stairs. So here's some information about this specific aircraft itself. If you want, you can pause the video and have a read for yourself. Some of this information may be interesting to you. And there is a picture of this exact aircraft at Cologne Bonn Airport in Germany back in 1975. So a good few years ago from just now. But what I'll do is I'll head over to where the stairs are to see if we can go in. Oh, and sadly the answer is no. Don't know if it's closed because of the pandemic or if there's another reason. Well, it's sad we can't go in, but what we can do is we can go over to the building where Concorde is and have a look at Concorde. So I have got my face mask on, ready to go inside the building where Concorde is, and we're almost there. And just outside in the same area is where the cafe is, and they've got some drinks, they've got ice creams, and you can probably also get a bit of lunch there as well. So there is a bigger menu than I expected for the cafe. They've got a decent amount of food and drinks to have, and there's also some toilets there as well. There's also a good enough sized seating area just there. There's no leaflets though, and I don't think I really need to tell you why. It's probably just because of the pandemic. And through there is where Concorde is, which we're about to go through. Now walking down to see Concorde. And there it is. There's the nose of Concorde. And here's some introduction to Concorde as well. And right there is a really impressive Lego model of Concorde. And there is the aircraft as well. It's just incredible having a look at Concorde right here at the museum, and it really is sad that Concorde is no longer flying passengers or flying at all anymore. So round here is the area that tells you all the history about Concorde, and if you ever have a family day out with kids, there's a bit of a challenge for kids to do for a bit of entertainment. And if you want, you can read what is on here and what this is about. I don't know if this is just a temporary thing though, or if this is a regular thing, but it's here at the time I am recording this video. So I will have a walk around and show you all the different areas of what is displayed about the history of Concorde, and then afterwards I'm going to go inside Concorde itself. So over here at the design and build area we have a bit of a backstory on how Concorde was made, and yeah, it's definitely really interesting to know how these things were made, like how these impressive machines were actually made. It's definitely sad that they are no longer flying, but well, it had to happen for reasons which I will get to soon enough. If you want, you can pause and have a look at what it says. So yeah, there's a backstory on how it happened and when it happened. And there's a picture of one of the Concordes, and the part here where it says my story, I think that's the story of this Concorde. Over here are some seats that were on one of the Concorde prototypes, and there's a bit of information here. And the Concorde that these seats were on is down at another flight museum in Yeovil. I think my dad would probably be able to tell you a bit more about that.
So it's a museum called the Fleet Air Arm Museum in Yeovil.
Right, yeah, definitely knows a bit more about me about that museum, but we went down there one time when we had a bit of a getaway a few years ago before the pandemic ended up starting. Over here it tells you about what the passengers experienced in flight and what happens during the flight. And this part here, if you want, you can pause and have a look, but this is quite interesting. So apparently Concorde stretched out or expanded while it was in the air, which is definitely really cool. And Concorde was also able to travel higher than any other aircraft in history at about 60,000 feet. Yeah, here. Concorde flew higher than any other plane at 60,000 feet, or 18,288 meters, close to the edge of the stratosphere, which it's incredible. And the low pressure outside at 60,000 feet. Yeah, so traveling at the speed of sound at 60,000 feet above sea level will definitely have been an unforgettable experience for passengers like these two, probably. So I'm going to go behind this cutout, or whatever it's called, and put my head through where one of the three pilots' heads would supposedly be.
This is Samuel being captain for the day.
There's also a wee stool for little children as well, just there, if they're not tall enough to be able to reach their heads through these holes where the pilots' heads would normally be.
Okay, so in the cupboards here, what you've got is, when you bought tickets for being on Concorde, you used to get a free gift sent by British Airways, and it consists of things like programmes, or maybe a tie, or you get a wash bag with things like a shaver in it, and a comb and a toothbrush and things like that. It also shows you the crockery sets at the bottom that they used to show you on, get you to use on the Concorde when you had a meal, and also the gifts that you were able to purchase on Concorde. Things like the decanters with the whiskey labels and gin labels, things like the Concorde clock there, you have a Concorde keyring, and all these are made of silver. They're all silver products made by Links of London. And these are different things that you could buy when you were actually on board. Very expensive though.
Oh yeah, it will be expensive. It'll be expensive just to fly on Concorde.
And that tells you what those items are.
Yeah, so like my dad just said, here's a list of what the items are that you could buy on board. So that thing right there is a wee booklet that will tell you a few things about the Prestwick Air Show back in 1981, and this of course would have happened at Prestwick Airport, where I have filmed a few of my videos on my channel, which you may already know. So that would have definitely been something interesting to have a read at, despite it being based about something that's happened in 1981. And it costed 80 pence, so it's not that expensive at all. However, back then it would have been worth more than it is now. And this would have been a flight engineer seat when it was being used on Concorde, which it tells you about here. So you get this list of things telling you how many things there are and what they are behind the glass, which is definitely very useful. So yeah, this here would have been number 4, Concorde flight engineer seat. And there's also some British Airways playing cards just there. There's also a cabin crew newsletter just there. And there's also a galley food container just there. And there's a bunch of information telling you about the items and what they do and what they can do. Yeah, all this stuff is definitely interesting, and it's definitely a good thing that a few of the collectibles that used to be on a Concorde aircraft were kept. And here is one of the galley trolleys that would have been used for either giving the food to the passengers, or some of the gifts on board, or just to give some things to the passengers like what you would normally get on a normal typical flight. And over here, this is definitely a sad section, and it tells you basically the Concorde's downfall after the crash of flight 4590 at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport back on the 25th of July 2000, so not too long after the 21st century started. So here's the quote that the air traffic controller said to them. It also tells you how it happened. So there's a picture of the bit of metal that ended up leading to the crash. If you want, you can pause and read for yourself. It's really sad. So everyone on board Flight 4590 was killed, as well as 4 more on the ground. And I'm pretty sure that this flight ended up crashing into a hotel. And yeah, 4 people in the hotel were killed. And just imagine that. You're just staying there as a guest, and the next thing you know, you're dead because an aircraft has crashed into where you were staying. And this is one of the things that ended up leading to Concorde's downfall. And this right here is one of the engines that was used on Concorde, and it's a Rolls-Royce Olympus 593 Concorde engine, so you can pretty much see the inside of the engine. Imagine having that much knowledge that you know how every single bit works. It would definitely take a lot of knowledge to fully memorize every bit here. I definitely won't be able to do that. And here's a bit of information about the engine type. So there's a wee seating area just here which we're waiting at, because we're waiting for the video to start, which will start in just over 2 minutes. So it plays about every 10 minutes or so. So once we have watched the video, I will go over and show you some of the other parts of this area. There's not too much more to show, and then I'm going to go on board Concorde just there. But for now I'm just going to wait here and wait for the video. I'm not going to film the video though, because I think that would probably just spoil it. So I'll put the camera down and then just watch it and pick up the camera again once it's finished. So the film actually plays every 15 minutes or so, and it's not a long film, and it's definitely really interesting, but it's also sad to watch as well because of the fact that Concorde is no longer flying. One of the factors of why is shown over there, which I have already gone over, and another factor is over there about the retirement of Concorde. And over here are some of the seats that were used on Concorde. So there's some of the newer updated ones from 2001 to 2003, and some of the older ones from the 1990s, which I think are these ones. I don't know which one is which. And there's also some information about the refit of Concorde just here. I don't want to read out too much information because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, you are able to pause the video if you want to. And here's a picture of one of the Concorde aircraft just outside a hangar. And over here is one of the toilets that was used on Concorde. It's not very big, and if you are a tall person, you may end up struggling to fit in here. Yeah, definitely not a very big toilet at all. I don't know if I would even be able to fit in there because I'm round about the same height as the top of the door. So I may have to bend down a wee bit to actually get inside. The width of the toilet is also not particularly big either, so if it was me trying to get into the toilet, I may have to stand at the side a wee bit to actually get inside. And I'm about 5'11", nearly 6 foot, and that's probably round about the same height as this door. And over here is some information about the retirement of Concorde, and the aircraft that is here at the Flight Museum has a bit of a backstory as well, and some information is shared about how it got here, as well as the one at Edinburgh Airport. It definitely got the attention of a lot of people because look at the people round about here, and this photo would have been taken at Lennymuir, which is one of the spots at Edinburgh Airport, and you can get a view of the threshold of runway 24 at Edinburgh Airport, and it's where I filmed my first few plane spotting videos at Edinburgh Airport back in early 2020, so before the first lockdown in the United Kingdom happened. And of course fuel was getting expensive as well, and well, the demand ended up dropping after the 9/11 attacks in New York and Washington, which had a big impact on Concorde, especially since Concorde was known for flights to New York, where 2 of the September 11th attacks happened. So fuel was getting expensive, demand was dropping, not enough money was being made, and fuel of course was just getting more and more expensive. So eventually Concorde had to be retired, but at least a few of the Concordes have been kept, like the one here at the National Museum of Flight. And fun fact for you, one of the pilots who was piloting the farewell Concorde flight at Edinburgh Airport back in 2003 opened up the window and waved a flag for the audience. And the pilot who waved the flag was Captain Andy Bailey. And for the people who were on the final flight of Concorde, they would have received some final flight souvenirs, which are some of these things. So we're now queuing up to get inside of Concorde, and they're only letting a few people in at once and reduce the risk of contracting COVID. It's definitely exciting to go in Concorde for the first time in a while. And over there once again is the Lego model of Concorde. That must have taken some building and will definitely have been expensive, because of course Lego is expensive. And over there is a theatre where they show another movie about Concorde as well. There's also some other things over there. There's a Red Arrow aircraft over there, and there's also the cockpit of another aircraft over there. All that stuff we'll check out once we have been inside Concorde. Now we're at the top of the stairs and are entering Concorde. If you're a tall person, you'll have to bend down a wee bit. And when you turn left, there's the cockpit. There are a lot of switches. You'd have to have a good amount of knowledge to actually be able to know everything about how to pilot this thing. Especially if you're the flight engineer. Yeah, if you're a tall person, you'll have to bend down a bit. I'm having to bend down a bit as well.
That's nuts, isn't it? All that equipment.
Yeah, especially if you're the flight engineer.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of knowledge. Over here, I wonder if these are the ovens where they cook the meals served. Yeah, it is, because there's a button there that says cooking finished, so that tells me that these are ovens. And here is one of the toilets, and just next to the toilet there's also an ashtray, because back in the days when Concorde was flying, you were allowed to smoke cigarettes on aircraft, which of course these days is illegal. Yeah, unfortunately we can't sit in the seats because of COVID, but that's okay. At the front here is some really good information. It tells you the outside temperature as well as the speed, 1,380 miles per hour. Speed of sound, altitude, and Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound. Further back there's what I think is the first class area. However, that area is closed off, not because of the pandemic. It's been closed ever since it was brought here. Here's another toilet, and here's the back of the aircraft. So there's the public address system or PA system there, and over here will be first class. The seats don't look much different, however you'll probably get some more privileges. There's a wee hole there as well, so the glass won't be in the way of me filming, or if you want to take pictures or anything, maybe that's why that wee hole is there, to take pictures and videos. And here, of course, is the exit, and there's the Concorde wing. Just being this close to it and just being inside Concorde itself is an incredible experience. Can't imagine what it would have been like for the passengers and crew. Oh, and there's an airport fire engine in the event of an emergency landing. There's a picture of Concorde with the red arrows, which was one of the things that was shown in the video, which you can view over there. It definitely drew a big crowd, and I think Queen Elizabeth was also there. There's also some hand sanitizing stations as well, one at the start and one at the end. We weren't allowed to sit in the seats though, they were blocked off as a result of COVID. If not, then they may have been closed before that. I can't fully remember because it's been a while, but just having a look at the cockpit was incredible, and just walking through it was also good. And there's two of the Concorde engines just there. They are definitely bigger than what they seem on camera, because of course it's difficult to appreciate something off of a video. You have to be here to actually see it. I'm also lifting my head up a wee bit as well to actually get a proper look at it with my own two eyes. There's a few more things around here as well. See, there's one of the red arrows. There's a picture as well with a video just there, off to the side of the picture. And there is a BOAC, or British Overseas Airways Corporation aircraft just there, or at least part of it, the front section of it, as well as a few engines over there, which I'll go have a look at. So we're now walking over to have a look at some of these engines. That GE engine, or General Electric engine, definitely caught my attention while I was queuing up to get inside Concorde over there. And over here is a list of what engine types they are. And that General Electric one I had actually seen while we were queued up to get inside Concorde is the General Electric CF6 engines, which are commonly used on the Airbus A300 series of aircraft. And there's a picture of one just there. So there's 6 of them. A few older, a few newer, and there's bigger labels of numbers next to the engines as well, so you know which engine is which. Yeah, so we've got General Electric, Rolls-Royce, most of them are Rolls-Royce anyway, and number 1 is the de Havilland Ghost engine. Never heard of that one, but it's definitely old. So just next to all those engines we have the cockpit of a Hawker Siddeley Trident, which are an older series of aircraft which are sadly no longer operating, but British European Airways, or BEA, had a few of them. And here's some information about various switches inside the cockpit of the Hawker Siddeley Trident, as well as some information about the aircraft type itself. If you want, you can pause and have a look. And now I will step up to have a little glimpse of the cockpit. Yeah, you can tell it's old. I'll put my camera over this bit as well so the glass isn't in the way. So there's the control column. Thrusters. Definitely a lot of switches, which are mostly analog. So now what I will do is I will go over there to the BOAC aircraft to have a look at that, and to then have a wee look at the red arrow over there, and then we'll go and get some lunch at the cafe here at the museum, and I will show you all what the food is like. There's definitely a few options, and there was more than I thought available. So this aircraft was a Boeing 707-400, registered as Golf Alpha Papa Foxtrot Juliet, and there's some history about the aircraft as well as some pictures. Definitely an old aircraft. And if there are any Boeing 707s flying right now, I think there are, there will only be a few of them. The 707 is definitely part of history for Boeing, as well as the rest of the aviation industry. So I will now go inside it and have a quick look at it. There's a few seats as well as the cockpit, and there's also a video that shows, and that video will be starting in over 2 minutes, so I think I may have got up here in good time. So yeah, there's a few seats for you to watch the video, as well as some history about this aircraft on the left side. But hey, this aircraft definitely is a big part of the aviation industry. Ooh.
I think you can still buy them.
Really? That would be cool if you could. So there's a BOAC bag right there, and here's some cutlery. Yeah, it's probably a good thing I came up here when I did, because the next video will be showing in just over 1 minute. Of course, I'm not going to film the video because I don't want to spoil it. Here's one of the seats, and here's some of the things that the passenger would get given for the flight, such as earphones, playing cards, all the things you'll need for entertainment throughout the flight. Uniform that a flight attendant, or back then as they call them, stewards, would wear. Don't know how many people use the term steward for flight attendants these days. And here's one of the toilets, and I will show you all the cockpit in a bit, but I'm going to go watch the video since there's less than 30 seconds before it starts. So now the video is finished, I will show you all what the cockpit looks like. Unfortunately, there's no little gap for me to put my camera through, so the glass will be in the way. But as it's an old aircraft, of course, most of the switches and stuff will all be analog, all the analog gauges, so not that many automated systems, not as many as you get today anyway. So there's the flight engineer's seat with all the switches that the flight engineer is responsible for, which is of course a lot. There's a lot of circuit breakers as well, but yeah, definitely a lot of switches, and the Boeing 707 is definitely an old aircraft. There's probably only a few flying just now. Soon enough there will be 0 flying, which will be sad. But of course, eventually all good things come to an end, and old aircraft do need to be retired eventually. And over there is the red arrow, so there's some information about it as well, just over there, which I will show you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go and get some lunch. So this aircraft was manufactured by Hawker Siddeley, the same people who manufactured the Trident. Definitely a fast speed this aircraft can travel at. And here's a bit of a backstory on the aircraft. There's also some pictures as well, and this one would have been one of the 9 that flew next to Concorde back when they were doing the show that Queen Elizabeth went to. I can't quite remember when that was, so we're now going to go and get some lunch, and over there is the exit just next to the Trident cockpit. So over here there's a theatre where a short film is shown, and it's just next to the entrance and exit of the cafe, which we're going to head to get some lunch. Lunch definitely looks good, so both me and Dad ordered hot dog with chips, which wasn't exactly cheap, about £5.50 each, but for convenience and stuff and for profits, I guess it's a reasonable price. Looks good and it smells good. Also got some drinks too, which are about £2.50 each, so around about £16 all in all for lunch, which isn't so bad for a meal at the museum, I guess. So the place that this museum is at is RAF East Fortune, and there's a bit of a backstory on the place as well if you want to have a read of it. It's also a bit of a story about East Fortune at war and the war effort, purpose built, and a site worth saving. All this stuff is displayed on this board. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be heading over there to the civil aviation hangar over there to see what's there. It's been a while since I've been here, so I can't fully remember. Just outside the civil aviation hangar, there's a board giving you a bit of history about when it was built and why it was built and what it was used for. And there's also a black and white picture showing what it used to look like back in 1943 during World War II. So all of the civil aircraft aren't big ones, they're all mostly propellers, which were all used during World War II. There's also a video that is shown about aerial photography, which will be starting in between 13 and 14 minutes, so that might be worth watching when that time comes. So you won't see any of the newer modern technology installed aircraft like the A320, 737 and so on, but it's all part of history, these aircraft, and they were all civilian aircraft before being retired. There's also some screens that display information about these aircraft. So this aircraft is a Briton Norman Icelander or Islander. Have a look at the design. I like how they use touch screens to display information, different kinds of information, with a setting to go back as well. Oh, history. The screens are also very responsive. So the Scottish airline Loganair ended up flying some of these aircraft, and they flew them on behalf of the Scottish Ambulance Service from 1967 to 2008, according to this. Some good valuable information. I'm not going to show you or read out every detail. Oh, so here's a wee look at the cockpit and the technology part. So we're now heading over to the military hangar to see what's there. Military aircraft will definitely be an interesting one, and I think a lot of aviation enthusiasts will probably prefer military aircraft over civilian aircraft. So here's another board here giving a bit of a backstory on the military aviation hangar, which is Hangar 2 at this museum. There's also a black and white picture as well displaying the area back in 1943. Right. A few aircraft in here. Older ones, of course. Oh yeah, and there's a one-way system as well, which in the civilian aviation hangar I did not follow. So all of this stuff would have been used during World War II. And there's also a timeline from 1939, the year World War II started, up to 1945, 6 years later, when World War II ended. So a lot of the older military aircraft which are shown in this hangar would have been used during World War II and back in other times during the 20th century. And so would a lot of the equipment and the uniforms that the pilots were wearing. There's also a bit of an upstairs area where you can get a better view of all the aircraft, and there's also a lift just there if needed, which will definitely come in handy. So I'm gonna go up the stairs and have a wee look. Okay, so far I'm the only one that's actually up here, but you get some good views of the military aircraft. You get some views of the tops of the aircraft as well. And here there's also a list of aircraft that are here, so they're labelled from 1 to 11, and here are the names of the aircraft. Oh, a video is just starting on the screen over there. That's why all the lights just went out just there. I'm not going to show the video though because I don't want to spoil it. So the video that was just shown on the screen plays about every 11 to 12 minutes, and that's not the only video that is shown in here. There's also a video about aerial warfare that is shown on that screen, which is just underneath the upper viewing area of the military hangar. And over here just next to the stairs of the upper viewing area, there's also some bombs and a launcher. There's 3 of them in total, and they are all labelled here in order of what they are. There's also some history being displayed just underneath the pictures of aircraft that use the bombers or launchers. So we're now outside the military aviation hangar now, and definitely a lot of history relating to war, specifically World War II. But outside the military aviation hangar, there's 2 other aircraft which are pretty big, especially the Vulcan, which is the aircraft just here. I don't know how big it looks on camera, but in real life, it's quite big. Definitely a big military aircraft, and there's also that one over there, just next to it. And in front of the Vulcan, of course, like a lot of aircraft at this museum, there is a board showing you all the history of the aircraft type. The Vulcan is definitely an old aircraft, as you might be able to tell from the years shown. And of course there's a picture of this specific Vulcan. Yeah, it
must have flown in the Falklands War because it shows it's bombed Argentinian enemies.
Oh yeah.
Because it's put some Argentinian flags up with the bombs. So it must have been in the Falklands in 1982.
Right. Yeah, a lot of these old military aircraft were involved in war.
It was. combat in 1982 in the Falklands War. Falklands is a group of islands off the south coast of South America.
Right.
But they're owned by the British. It's a British colony.
And opposite the Vulcan is this Comet aircraft. There are stairs. There's a set of stairs there and a set of stairs over there. I don't think you can go inside this aircraft though, because this set of stairs is closed, so I have a feeling that the other set may also be closed. Yes, they are. Can see fence over there blocking off the other set of stairs. And here's another board displaying all the information and history about this Comet. So what we're doing just now is heading back towards where the gift shop is, or shop, and I'm going to see if I can film in there to show you all what they sell in there. But if I can't, then I will just take some pictures on my phone and add them as overlays. Alright everyone, so I am now at home, and I would just like to say that I was able to film some shots from inside the shop. However, one of the employees said that I shouldn't zoom in on the products because of copyright reasons, which is a bit strange because it's not like I'm trying to steal the products or anything. I was just trying to show my viewers what they sell in the shop. But it's not really that big of a deal because I did manage to get some shots, and I am grateful to the employees for letting me even take the shots that I did. And for those of you that are interested, in the shop they sell a good amount of things such as stationery products. They have some military toys for little kids. They sell some aviation books. They have a good amount of British Airways collectibles. And they also have some really cool and big metal as well as expensive models, including the Gemini Jets 1/400 scale British Airways Concorde model, which is one of the models that isn't really that big, but it was only £45, and because it was being sold at an aviation shop and at a museum of flight, I think that's a pretty good price. However, I didn't buy it though because, like I said in my previous video, I am trying to save money. I hope you all enjoyed this vlog. I know it wasn't the best vlog that I could have made, mainly just because of all the grammatical errors that I was making throughout the vlog, which was leading me to make some cuts in the video in the editing process. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I definitely enjoyed the day out with my dad at the museum. I think my favourite part was going inside Concorde, and the Museum of Flight in East Lothian in Scotland is a great place to go, and I highly recommend taking a trip out there to go to the museum if you're an aviation enthusiast and you live in Scotland or are visiting Scotland and you're anywhere nearby. But other than that, I will end the video here, so thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video whenever I upload one. Bye!